Okay, carrying on from the last presentation. IB wants you to be able to explain why life cycle analysis isn't actually used that much in practice. It really isn't when it comes down to it, not for the development of new products, but when it comes to products that are going to be redesigned and remanufactured, this is where a lot of times it will come in. A lot of times companies will realize that they can be more environmentally conscious or save more money by switching to different materials. So they'll do a full analysis to see what effects there are on the environment when they switch materials. So the analysis might not be widely used for new products. It is frequently, or more frequently rather, used for redesigning products. You also need to consider waste mitigation. How are you going to limit the amount of waste that's created? There's a lot of resources and raw materials, and the industrial age led to this kind of culture of developing things and throwing it away when you're done with it, or cutting out of large pieces of resources and then just throwing the rest away. So lots of materials end up in a landfill and you don't end up using them completely. One of the neat ways that waste can be reduced is actually by the use of additive manufacturing, that is 3D printing. When you think of the process of manufacturing, you start a lot of traditional manufacturing methods. You start with a piece of material and you cut things off of it, you remove it. You start with a block of wood and you drill holes into it and you cut off parts and cut little bits and pieces, and you end up with your product out of that block of wood, but you also end up with a big pile of sawdust and wasted material. Additive manufacturing using a 3D printer produces something without generating waste because it builds it up layer by layer by layer. And when you're done with it, you don't throw away what's left of the filament spool, you use it for the next thing. So there's relatively very little waste when something is produced using an additive manufacturing method. 3D printing isn't just with the hot extruders that you've seen that we have here at school. There's also sintering, which is using lasers and metal or ceramic dust that fuses. Either way, you end up with having a product that's created with a minimal amount of waste. When you look at international miners here, there's toxic waste that can come out of certain products, especially end-of-life electronics, and this is also an issue for all stakeholders involved. The company, the customers, the countries have to deal with this waste, and this really links back to theory of knowledge with the circular economy. When you think about it, this is it's a shift in paradigm. People realizing that there's no way that garbage goes away; it just moves location. So understanding that and shifting the paradigm in design really causes you to think of different aspects that knowledge can be shifted. Eco-labeling is another thing we're going to talk about here, and the definition is basically government-developed tools to indicate the measure of a product's sustainability and ecological impact. Now, it's existed since in the 70s in some form, but became pretty popular in the early 90s after the UN Conference of Environment and Development in 1992. I believe that was held in Brazil, but they've had other conferences on similar topics since then. In the U.S., we adopted Energy Star. You've probably seen this logo before. Energy Star was developed by the U.S. Department of Energy, and it's really used only on appliances, but it can be used in other things like windows and things that are used in houses. But it looks at energy consumption and energy savings and compares it to other similar products. So you can actually take two refrigerators and see how energy efficient each one is using these Energy Star ratings. There's other eco-labels all around the world. Here's a few others. European Union, there's the EU eco-label, Environmental Choice in Canada, the Nordic environmental label. I can't read Korean, but that's Japanese, I'm sorry, and then there's the Korean eco-label too. So there's lots of eco-labels that exist out there. and some that target specific industries. There's the there's the Forestry Council that encourages sustainable harvesting of timber. There's Fishery Council that encourages sustainable harvesting of fish. There's recycling, eco labels, all sorts of stuff that's out there that really is kind of meant as a brand to get people behind the whole aspect of green design and sustainability. So that's pretty much all that's on here for topic 3.2. Make sure to review the actual presentation that's posted on Haiku, and let your teacher know if you have any questions.